Greetings, and welcome to The Thirsty Mage, the podcast that's aging as gracefully as the Super Nintendo in direct sunlight. I'm your host and the man who is feeling the fatigue of 150 episodes, David Lloyd. In this episode, we're joined once again by the gentleman from the Talk Nintendo podcast to talk about the SNES classic, Super Castlevania IV. First up for introductions is the crew from The Thirsty Mage, starting with the only person here crazy enough not to use save states in his playthrough, Jordan Rudick.
I really wish that were true. I really wish that I hadn't used any.
Oh, you
save
did,
states.
eh?
I gave it up about 5 or 6 levels in. I think a little more than halfway through. I'm like, I think
6 minutes.
I think it was yeah, exactly. I think it was. I played it in like 2 sessions basically. So it was in the second session where I'm like, I really just want to get through this. Not that I wasn't enjoying it or anything like that, but just some cheap deaths, like Paige was posting some of these on her Twitter, like just falling into the spike pits, missing a jump or something like that. Obviously the clock tower with its the way it scales lifts the screen vertically so that you fall to the bottom, you die. It's pretty brutal, but yeah. I was playing it on the Castlevania Advance or Anniversary Collection, I should say. So not I don't know, find enough way to do save states and just reload them. It was pretty quick, but my kingdom for a rewind button, that would have been nice.
I'll have a funny story about save states in a bit, but yeah, you mentioned Paige, so Paige unfortunately had to cancel at the last minute. She did provide some notes though, so I'll be able to share those later on. But
nope.
That brings us to the man who's both part of the Thirsty Mage crew and the Talk Nintendo podcast, and that's Mr. Casey Gibson.
Howdy ho there. Yes, yeah. I can't believe it has been that long since we did a crossover. Insane.
Yeah,
too long, boys.
Yeah, and it's a kind of funny choice of the last couple games too, with going from Legend of Zelda Link 2 or Zelda 2, whatever you want to call it, onto this one. So we're picking some brutal games, some difficult ones.
Definitely ones where you want a rewind feature, you want save states, you need something like that. Yeah,
and any help you can get for
That's
sure.
Right.
Yeah, and also joining us is the face that will likely be adorned on a Dracula in the episode artwork for the Talk Nintendo podcast, Alex Kalafi.
The only Castlevania game I've ever beaten is Mirror of Fate on 3DS.
That's a travesty. I don't know what qualified Alex to get on the podcast tonight, but that's a doozy.
Prequel. It's the worst God of War game you've ever played.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the final man on our podcast tonight, he's starting his Xenoblade Chronicles 2 playthrough, even though he technically played the game secondhand many years ago. It's Perry Burkham.
I'm going to be honest, guys. I thought we were doing Street Fighter 4. Street Fighter, not Castlevania 4. So I'm going to be a little wonky with my thoughts on the game.
Well, as long as it was funny, I wanted to bring up the Xenoblade 2 because it's our 150th anniversary or 150th episode for our podcast, and the first podcast from the very beginning was Xenoblade 2.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of it right now.
Yeah. So are you going back to like when Casey and I would just keep going on, and you tell us to shut up and
all day?
Yeah. You have like your own play. You have your own walkthrough, your own personal walkthrough in the Slack chat.
I know, seriously. I know. Well, luckily, I don't need a walkthrough because you just go to the beacon every time.
Follow the breadcrumbs.
Yep.
It's funny, Perry, that you've started playing Xenoblade 2. I feel like that's a lot of people on my social media are playing, or on Twitter playing through that game and sharing their thoughts and stuff. And
probably because the new one, right?
Exactly. Getting ready for the third game, which is not too far away, right? Like September is going to be here before you know it. So
yes.
Yeah.
Are you out of the 40-hour tutorial yet, or?
Nope, I'm in the middle of the 40-hour tutorial.
You never actually leave it. That's the fun thing about Xenoblade 2. You're always in the tutorial. So.
Yeah, you're always learning something.
It is. Isn't that funny? It's because it's seriously completely true. Yeah. I just unlocked the final pause menu thing. Like it was no longer a question to me anymore.
Yeah. But you still haven't unlocked the full combat. Like I bet you probably don't have the third blade yet, so you can't do the.
I do have
very
the third blade.
special. Oh, do you have it now? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's good. So you're
I
almost
still don't
there.
understand the combat though. If that makes you feel better.
Yeah.
Like when
Well,
I was talking with Alex like the first time, like and he's like, yeah, like I put like 200 hours in that game, and I by the end of it I was about 80% there, and I
Yeah.
think that's exactly right. I think
I generally understand the blade system. That is what I can say after 200 hours.
yeah, exactly.
Alex, you're a liar. No one understands it.
No
No one.
Seriously,
It's like a gotcha mobile game, but Pokemon. But you don't have to put in real money, but it kind of feels like you do.
That's
Hey,
that's how the developers explained it.
So let me ask one question about Xeno 2 before I move on. So you know how like there's like a cloud, there's like the cloud system, like where like it's like the
That's
the
Final
tide,
Fantasy VII.
the tide, you know, like
it was
it's like
Sephiroth.
there's like a measure like on the screen at all time, like whether the clouds are low or high. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Does that ever actually matter ever?
I think
been
I
some
don't know if
years.
anyone's ever figured that out.
Yeah,
Gary.
I haven't.
That
I
is
just
true.
it's just okay. There seems to be like a lot of things that you really don't ever have to think about, but
No, I remember
like
Casey
all the
and I,
NPCs.
yeah, that's it. I just remember the eureka moment for Casey and I when we got the third blade, and then we finally figured out like how to mix and match the blades to get like the final. I don't know what it's really called, but it's kind of like the final smash where there's like
blade,
you get to the third
blade,
stage.
Yeah, like the topple knock
yeah, like
over,
right. It's like
stunned,
it's that
whatever.
it's the thing on the top right where like you know you got to do but like with the elements like you work with the elemental blade art like specials. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, where
The
it's
blade
like
chain.
yeah, there's
whatever?
certain blades that chain like you get the first stage and second stage, and then you hit the third stage, and then there's like a massive
I
thing,
still
and
haven't
then you
figured
can
that
keep
out yet.
chaining it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Perry,
just
to
remember-
to answer your question, just because I want to make sure you are able to sleep tonight. My understanding is that the level of the clouds actually can reveal different parts of the map. So if the clouds are higher, certain parts of the landmass might be covered by the clouds and you can't see them.
Yeah,
But if the clouds are lower, then a lower elevation on one of the islands that you're on, or one of the land masses that you're on, you'll actually be able to go lower down, and you might not be able to complete a quest if the cloud level is
now
too
I'm kinda
high or
remembering,
too
yeah.
low or something like that, right?
Okay,
So,
there is like
yeah.
a part that right where like there's like a little like thing you could climb down, and it was covered in clouds. That makes
exactly, yeah.
sense. Okay.
So there's stuff like that in a bunch of the places, and so depending on the cloud level, you might have access to certain areas or not.
Cool. It's a
Should
good
we-
game. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. I wish I had time to go back to it, but I think the best I'll do is finish Future Connected from the Xenoblade 1 remaster or remake, whatever. Should we move on to Street Fighter 4 now?
the actual
or-
game. Yeah, that was Street Fighter. Yeah.
No,
the
I know
actual
why Gary
game.
he had a hard time with Street Fighter 4 because he was trying to use save states for it. That's why.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I really like the returning characters, Cammy, Dan, and
yes, that's right.
Sakura.
Harry's definitely a Cammy guy.
Oh, Cammy's awesome.
It's really fun when Ken flips his whip around.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Ken Belmont.
He just leaves it dangling out there.
Yep.
All right, before we confuse everybody, the game we're actually talking about is Super Castlevania IV, and it's actually kind of funny because the episode hasn't come out yet, but Jordan and I actually talked about another Castlevania style game. It's more in the vein of Symphony Unite, so we'll be talking about that. But I think we actually agreed to do this game well before we actually started that other game, so we kind of have this. This one is more. This is a Castlevania as opposed to a Metroidvania style. So this was back in
Thank
the
God.
Right.
yeah, yeah. It's back when Konami made games in their golden era in 1991. So this was the fourth. So this was the fourth game in the console series. But at the time, there was 2 Game Boy games that had already come out by then, or the second one actually came out the same year. So this was like the heyday of Castlevania. They're just coming out. Making them
Pumping them out.
on the factory, on the assembly line, just coming out with them.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right.
This was Call of
the
Duty
annual
before there was
Castlevania.
Call of Duty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So before Igarashi, before kind of the Renaissance and GBA, this is all pre that the linear experience. So, I guess we could start with where we played it because I know I played my version on the Super Nintendo Mini. I'm pretty sure it came on there. I don't think I added it. Could be wrong.
It
with
did.
that.
Yeah, it was part of it.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
that's why I played it too.
yeah, and the way I played it was, so I had my Super Nintendo Mini on the floor, connected to the HDMI, and I had one foot on it the entire playthrough, and I just, every time something bad happened, I just flicked my toe on the reset button, headed down to the save state menu. Yeah, I'm 100% serious. I'm like, I don't have time for BS. I used my toe.
That's incredible. That's wonderful.
Yeah. It's like every few minutes, it's like, okay, time to save. Flip it with the big toe, and then save, move on. And cheap death where a bat hits me off a ledge. Oh, flip the toe. That's okay. Just keep on going. There's super quick. It was gave my toe a workout. I had to flip. My one foot fell asleep, so I had to switch to the other toe, and ambidextrous on the feet apparently with flip and reset buttons. But
all of a sudden,
it
looked
looked
a whole new demographic for the thirsty mage here.
Yeah, that's right.
David always putting thirsty in the thirsty mage, right? Like,
Man, the numbers were real.
Hey, whatever fans were we don't care
including
what you like, who you are.
fans.
that's right.
This is the dirty mage, right? So I guess it's fitting.
My
Living up to the
playthrough
title.
is completely streamed on WikiFeet.
Yeah. If I ever go over to your house, David, remind me never to touch that reset button on your Super Nintendo Mini. Okay, that's
You should probably just
hands
nip
off.
that in the bud and never go over to his house.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You don't know what David's been doing over there.
I'll bring my own Super Nintendo Classic. Thank you very much.
That's where I ended up playing mine too. I didn't do a full playthrough this time because I'd already beat it. Actually, my first playthrough was when they released it on the 3DS Virtual Console.
Right, I was thinking about that. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and I remember back then, like hearing so much.
He was jazzed about
so many
it.
good things about it. Yeah,
That's
so I played it,
documented on
and
the Talking
I
Nintendo
love this
podcast.
game. Super good.
Getting Super Nintendo games on the 3DS was just awesome. Actually, like that was a really
They look
cool
so
feature. They look awesome. Yeah. I mean, I remember playing Super Mario World, Link to the Past. I think I might have even played Earthbound on all the way through on my new 3DS XL. Like it's just an awesome experience.
It's so funny. It's like all these, I don't want to say little things, but yeah, like even with the Switch, right? Like, oh, if we just want to play these games, like give us a way to give you money, Nintendo.
Really? Yeah.
I know.
That's gonna be the theme of the whole next year, right? The whole next 12 months or 18 months or whatever is gonna be about how to give Nintendo money.
Yep.
We're never going to be satisfied, Nintendo, ever.
Yeah.
Until
How about
Mother
you?
3.
No, that's their ongoing joke. Nintendo is just never gonna give it. But they will put the the Japanese version in the Japanese eShop and
Right.
just kind of wash their hands of it, or in the Nintendo Online. I mean. But how about you, Alex? What version did you play?
I played the Switch collection because it was the one I had. That one's pretty good. The collection, although I find that going in and out of the save states takes a few seconds longer than I want it to.
Yeah, it does. It does.
But the port seems fine.
I mean, it maintains the
That's the same
slowdown of the
I played.
original, so it's good, right? Like,
Yeah.
Oh, so you
It
guys had
feels
that
like
too,
a
eh?
Super Nintendo game.
The authentic experience.
it's
Yeah.
really bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
having like some crazy slowdown, and I'm like, is this because I'm using a
My
funny
toe?
version of an SNES Mini or something? Like, what's the slowdown, especially in the clock level? It felt like it was going 1 frame per 2 minutes. Like
It's that
so it was-
Canadian SNS Mini. SNES.
Yeah,
It must
it
be.
runs at 25 hertz.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we're lucky. That stage where the background is rotating and you're jumping on the platforms and fighting the skeletons, that's a pretty bad one for the lag too, just because there's so much happening in the background.
The clock tower one, is that what you're?
It's just before that, I think. Like the stage background is rotating, kind of like it looks like a cylinder, like that you're inside a big
I think
cylinder.
I remember that one now.
Yeah, and they're obviously showing off the mode 7 there, right? And it's like that part I remember being laggy. And then there's one later on where you're crossing a bridge. The bridge is filled with candles, and there's like a collection of bats chasing you. Because there's like a dozen bats, it's super laggy, right? Because all those enemies chasing you, right? So I remember that one being particularly slow too.
How about you, Perry? What version did you play?
I played the Switch collection one.
Oh, okay,
I got that for like $5. Like it was on sale at one point.
Yeah, it's such a steal at that price, getting all those good games.
Yeah.
So we got 3 Switch collection and 2 SNES minis. Well, I guess I'm pretty sure Paige did the collection as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And so
I should have charged up the DS.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, how about the version? Do you guys play scan lines on or off?
Off, just normal, or however Konami sort of fed it to me.
Yeah, I
The
think
default?
it defaults to regular, right? And then you'd have to put the scan lines on.
Yeah,
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 I think it's pixel perfect for us.
Yeah. So I just played the default.
I did default, and then maybe like the last 10 minutes or so, I switched to pixel perfect. So I beat Dracula and maybe 1 or 2 bosses before him, because there's that little gauntlet.
Spoilers, sheesh.
Yeah, I know. If you fight Dracula at the end, like believe it or not, yeah.
No.
And the castle flips upside down. It's great,
No.
Perry's like, I'm not finishing this game now.
Yeah,
Seriously.
Yeah, I know.
Spoiler.
I know Paige played. She played with the scan lines on, and this is one of her notes: is that she used the scan lines filter, which she felt like it didn't necessarily appear like scan lines, but it did have a nicer faux CRT effect than most. So I don't know. I just personally like, even though I'm an old guy who probably played with those, that I played that on a CRT with those that look. It's like, I don't know. It's it's the 2020s. I don't need the. If I want the CRT, I'll just put it on I have an old CRT at home. I'll just play it on that. I don't know. It's like, it looks so beautiful.
TV. Do you know why? Because of Donkey Konga and Donkey Konga alone. Well, and Jungle Beat too.
That's the best reason. Yeah.
You can't play that on a normal on a new TV because it doesn't allow you for like the
lag,
the delay. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I used to have a big old CRT in my room, but then when I moved, I
just can't justify it for Donkey Konga.
Well, you could probably get a really small one. So, like, if you just really wanted to play the game,
But I like to. I mean, but the thing is, it's like I want to play it with a bunch of. I got the 4 bongos. Like, let's go. But it's just.
Pony up, buddy.
Anyway. My father-in-law has a Sony Trinitron, like a great big. It's this massive one. It's 300 pounds.
Those are the
so
best.
heavy.
Yep.
I'm trying to get it.
Great, yeah.
Trying to get it, but I got nowhere to put it here. Plus, it's 300 pounds. So that's
those things are crazy.
You say 32 inches?
It's probably bigger than that. It's huge.
Oh, okay. Well, it's like the inches are bigger on the full screens, because
right. But it's getting it out to my place is the difficulties.
Your car's gonna break down, bringing it home.
Yeah, that's right. There's just see this car going down the road, and the wheels will just be like it's scraping, and it's like the engine is like half the front wheels are coming off the ground. It's just
what's that
look
hooser
like Fred
dragging home?
It looks like Fred Flintstone with a boulder in the back of his car.
David, what kind of filters does the SNES Mini have for this game? I think I remember the collection having a few more, like maybe 5 or 6 or something like that. But how many did
we don't? I think we only got 3. I don't even think there's because I know there's Pixel Perfect,
default Pixel Perfect, and then like a stretched version or a larger version or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely a scan, like a CRT filter version, but I didn't even bother. And there's only one. There's one other one, but I can't remember what it does. I want to say it has some kind of different aspect ratio, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think it is too. I think it either stretches it or flattens it or something like that. But yeah.
All right, Casey, I know you're the biggest fan of this game, so tell us why you enjoy it.
I think it's because mainly, right, like obviously Castlevania is a super well known, and people hold it in high regards, the entire franchise there, right? And then I feel like when I started to get into hearing about Castlevania, it had already switched over to the Metroidvania style, right? So it's like, and then that style just generally doesn't jive with me too much. Even like Dread most recently, right? Like I could play it and it's fun and it's cool. I just can't. I don't know. I'm too dumb, I guess. You know what I mean? I get like I know the whole part.
Tell me
like,
where to
point.
go. That's you? Tell me where to go. I don't want this walking around back and forth crap.
Yeah, even like open world games, it's like you give me too many options. It's the I become paralyzed. It's like I don't know what to do. I'm just not gonna play, I guess. So it's like in those games, I get like the idea is like you're really learning the map and the layout, but it's like I just end up being like, man, I think it was here, or like I can visualize the room, and I'm like, but I can't get back there without like a whole bunch of guessing, right? So when I came back to play, the classic style of Castlevania, where it's level based, you're progressing just beginning to end, and
it's a classic
you're
action platformer.
Mhm.
Yep, you're picking up your power ups, and you got some different cool items to use and stuff. And the game's hard, right? Like it's tough. It's punishing. It's unfair. It would definitely be a big old pain in the butt to play this game without any set of and save states. Even if you tried to limit yourself, right? Where it's like I'm going to do it at the beginning of each level, or like maybe the beginning and the middle point. Obviously we're for this playthrough, I think probably most people are just abusing it. Like, I just
like me.
like I want to play through this game. Like I don't want to go through the trials and tribulations.
The David Toe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Give him the toe. But yeah. So for me, it's just that classic action platformer. It's tough. It's unfair at times, for sure. I mean, there was even parts where it's like, oh, you're going down the stairs, and like it clips down to the next level, and you jump a little too bit.
Stairs, the hardest thing to code.
Yeah. You need to you walk by the stairs, but you got to be holding up, so you start walking, and he does like that slow, like I'm stomping on each stair as I go up. You know what I mean?
And he can't do anything while he's walking up those stairs. It's like you can't chew gum and walk at the same time. It's like, no, but I'm concentrating on the stairs. Let me get up the stairs, and then I'll whip something.
He's like, can you imagine how embarrassing it would be if I got killed falling up the stairs?
If Dracula ever killed him, that's where it would be. He'd just bite him while he's going big long walk, big staircase.
Dracula respect the man who's walking up the stairs. He'll let him get to the top.
Yeah. Dracula's like, this is just too easy. I can't do it. It's just, this is,
I mean, to be fair, back in Simon Belmont's time, hundreds of years ago, stairs probably were a lot more dangerous than they are now. I'm sure there are probably a lot more
potholes,
stair-related fatalities than
very
than
good,
are now.
Jordan.
Yeah, I don't know.
They didn't have grip on the shoes back then, I guess. He didn't want to fall down.
Yep. But the
and I mean,
candles
some
back
of those,
then were full of hearts.
some rain, right? They get slick.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, I like that classic approach to it. I mean, I think, Dracula and the castles and all the different areas you go to, like I said, like Clock Tower, I think is super awesome, to visually look at, but also the music. I mean, the music throughout this whole game just absolutely owns. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, to me, it's my taste of Castlevania. Where I feel like a lot of other people, prefer the Metroidvania. So for me, maybe it holds out more than it should, because of that, where I can connect to the series. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough, and it is definitely a pain in the butt sometimes. But overall, I really like it a lot.
Definitely from the era of we don't want you to finish this game in a weekend because you're just going to rent it from Blockbuster time. So it's like, nope, you're
yes.
If you think you're just going to beat this in a few hours, we got another thing coming.
You must be David Towing it.
Yeah, the toe technique was not available in 1991.
Nice.
How about you, Jordan? You've played a ton of Castlevania type games lately. How did this one rank?
I mean, and I reviewed this collection, so it was kind of nice back then. That was a few years ago, I guess, to go back and play through all these, kind of compare them a little bit. Like I really like the NES games. I don't know that I ever owned any of them, and I don't even think I owned this one. It was so early in the Super Nintendo lifespan, I guess, or so close to release of the console. Like I think I was probably still playing Mario World, still playing. I think Zelda came out before this as well. This was December of '91, so pretty engrossed in the games that I already had. But never really owned this one. I do really like it. I have a fondness for this game. It's one I could easily go back and play like once a year or something like that. The music's really good. I love the way the game looks. Like it does feel like you can tell it's a really early Super Nintendo game in the way that they're trying to accentuate, or you just keep going back to all of like the Super Nintendo tricks. Like there's a ton of Mode 7 kind of visuals that are used or effects in the game.
Incredible, right? Like stuff you've never seen in any other game.
That's it. Like it really is a really fantastic showcase, kind of like Pilot Wings is in a way of what the system could do. And it's funny because games that came after didn't make such use of some of the Super Nintendo.
Seriously, Pilot Wings, right? I didn't play Pilot Wings until on the podcast. And it's so funny because it's like, I was like, the Super Nintendo can do this? Like,
yeah. Dude, Pilot Wings
the first
is...
like early
dope.
Super
So
Nintendo
good.
games, like they did some really cool things that, really
like a
showcased
fully
what the
3D
console's
world,
possible of. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, but so I mean, visually, obviously, really kind of gorgeous game to look at, like perfectly, really good Halloween game, obviously, with all the horror and all the kind of classic monsters that show up, like Frankenstein monster and the mummy, and stuff like that. Yeah. Some of those boss fights are really. Some of the boss fights are really neat too. Like I really like the mummy one. How he kind of comes out kind of the bandages kind of teleport him to different parts of the stage. It's pretty neat. That's a tough fight too. Some of the later fights are really tough. And that's where I find the game kind of a tale of two halves. Is that I think the bosses in the first half are really easy. The Hydra, the two-headed Hydra, is really fun. Where you climb up from the water area, I guess, and then the bottom of the screen fills with water, and you have to jump from the different platforms to be able to strike them. Especially if you don't have one of the sub weapons. Like, that's one of the funny things about the game is that if you don't have a sub weapon or you don't have the right sub weapon, some of the bosses are really, really hard. But if you do have things like the cross. At the right time, like, or against the right enemy, like the cross is just really strong. Like let's not kid ourselves. Like that weapon is almost broken to an extent. Like you can finish off the bosses really quickly with the cross, and if you've got like the 2 or 3 times effect on for the sub weapons, where you can throw 2 or 3 at once, you can make short work of them, right? So it is devastating, but the game becomes a lot trickier when you don't have a sub weapon.
It's almost like that. It's almost like that roguelike effect, where if you're on a playthrough, it's like if you don't, it's like it drastically changes the gameplay. Where like in Zelda, you just don't have that because for the most part, like for the most of the linear Zelda games, because they kind of always know what you got. So
yeah. And sometimes the game tries to trick you a little bit too, right? Like you might have the axe, and the axe might be really good for the next boss coming up, but then right before the boss, they might give you the dagger or the holy water, and those are terrible, right? It's just funny how, unlike when we talked about a game like Symphony of the Night, where it was more straightforward, it would give you the weapon you need right before the boss fight, a little more forgiving like that. This game kind of goes out of its way to mess with your head and make you think like, oh, do I want the dagger now? Is it better to have a quick weapon, or should I keep the cross or whatever, right? So yeah, but
I do.
And that's
like
where you
that.
want to make your first save state right before that decision.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I do like that. It reminds me of Mario. Like because I think like even like New Super Mario Bros. For example, you get your power ups, and a lot of times, like in the platform heavy levels, they'll give you a fire flower. And then in the action levels, they'll give you like an acorn, and so it's like you wish you had the other, and so like they'll challenge you in that way where it's a good way to balance it. So it kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, at least in Mario, it's nice. You get to kind of you get to use one and then hold on to the other one, right? So you can switch You can switch if you want to, but in this game,
Totally.
you take one and the other one's gone, and you sometimes curse yourself
Yeah.
when
So,
you pick up the wrong one by accident.
is there a sequel to this game?
Well, after this, they kind of this is when Igarashi started to come in, because I think the next one was Bloodlines, Castlevania Bloodlines,
Okay.
and then that kind of, I think there might have been a game between Bloodlines and Symphony of the Night, but as soon as Symphony of the Night came along, then everything changed at that point.
Symphony of the Night was the first Metroid one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It's just interesting because I feel like Super Castlevania 4 is held in such high esteem. I think it still is. It's just kind of surprising that they haven't revisited this game, the non-Metroidvania style.
Yeah, it's because after
that's because they don't
Symphony,
make games anymore, right?
yeah, I was gonna say yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's the thing is like, so after Castlevania 4, like, so they started making, with the Symphony Night success, they started making the Metroidvania style, and then eventually when Konami kind of got out of making games in kind of the mid 2000s, I guess it was, they actually just kind of handed it off to Mercury Steam, the last few Castlevanias, and those were kind of weird. Like I think the last one they made was like a 3D. It was kind of, I can't remember if it was on like Xbox or PS3 or something, but
the 3DS one was the spin-off of that. What was it called? Right? Is that the?
yeah,
Mirror
I think
Fate.
Mercury Steam. Yeah, they had like 3 or 4 games.
That was the spin-off of the big console games, wasn't it? And I can't remember what was it? Castlevania something Mirror. What was it called?
Mirror
I can't
Fate,
remember now.
that one?
No, but there's a different. It's Castlevania subtitle, isn't it? Mirror Fate. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah,
You
you
got
make right,
me.
Perry.
What's it called?
Not Judgment.
Lords of Shadow.
Are you talking about Lord of the Shadow,
Lord
the
of
God
Shadow,
of War
yeah.
sort of
So-
big budget with Patrick Stewart?
Old Patty Stew.
What? I didn't even
Yeah,
understand. what you
no,
just said.
Patrick Stewart is he's the voiceover guy in the
In
Lords of Shadow games. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, at least the first one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
So that's where
well,
all their
there's-
budget went.
yeah, because Mercury Steam did the Lords of Shadow. They did Lords of Shadow 2. They did Mirror of Fate.
And are those games good? I mean,
I don't think they were highly regarded.
yeah, I know. I never hear about it.
People seem to really like the first one, at least in like a some people really love it kind of way. I think the second one was more divisive, and then Mirror of Fate, which was kind of like them trying to make a 2D Castlevania game and failing, is generally treated fairly negatively. I think that's kind of the angle.
Yeah.
And then you get the Bloodstained, right? The new version, but that's still the Metroid stuff,
It is. Yeah.
So
yeah,
just interesting to me that someone hasn't. I can't think of one that's based off the action platformer one.
So, Perry, you were, I think it was you who was saying, like, oh, this game was fairly well regarded, Castlevania 4, right?
I think so, right? I mean, like,
yeah.
it is now.
I have, I have a sort of scan of the the Nintendo Power that rated Castlevania 4 from, I think, 1991.
Okay.
I found it on Wikipedia. All right. Castlevania 4, Konami. It's given 4 scores out of 20. Its gameplay, its graphics and sound is a 4.3 out of 5. Its play control is 3.7 out of 5. We all know what that means.
Yeah.
Its challenge, 4.1 out of 5. And theme and fun is 4 out of 5. And the game type, Castle Quest.
That's hilarious.
That's amazing. I love the arbitrary or like the categories. They're like, yes, that's definitely a 3.7.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
That's right.
So this
very
is
scientific.
This is like, it's not even a full review. It's just a list of games and their ratings. My favorite is theirs for Final Fight, a Capcom game, and its
Final
game
Fight
type.
game.
its game type is street fighting, which is just a different video game.
That's awesome.
I still like Castle Quest.
That's a
We all
genre
know what that means.
we need that genre back. Castle Quest.
What I would like is if it turns out the Nintendo Power for game genre, every single game has a different game genre. I think like 400 game genres they've come up with, and they're just like nonsense. They put together two words that seem to make sense.
That's definitely a puzz form if I've ever seen one.
That's definitely a mushroom platformer if I've ever seen one.
Well, what's your favorite Castle Quest? Oh, yours is Castlevania IV. Mine's Elden Ring.
That's right.
Exactly.
Don't get Jordan started. I bet his hype levels are.
I'm if I could buy a copy right now for like $200, I probably would. Like,
I'm gonna pre-order it now. I'm gonna pre-order it after the show. But yes, I'm gonna.
I have the Rise and Tarnished official launch trailer queued up.
that's good. I want to watch that too. Yeah.
I'll say something about Castlevania 4. To be honest, I haven't played that much of it, not through lack of trying, but there's just Castlevania is a very weird series where I like 2D side scrollers, I like action games, I like sort of some gothic feel type games. I love a good quest in a castle, but for some reason I bounce off Castlevania games like nobody's business, and I don't know why I find them so impenetrable. I don't know if it's because they're like a little procedural and slow. I don't know if it's because of the whole, like, there's a heart system that still on paper makes no sense to me. I don't know if it's the challenge and just old schoolness associated with all of like the favorites. Like, I just don't know. But and Castlevania 4 was unfortunately, other than swinging the whip around, which was like the best thing ever, I never. It's yet another Castlevania game I don't understand, and not through a fault of the game, maybe.
If you only had the manual in your hands, maybe it would be a little different.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It doesn't the player package doesn't jive with me like, say, like Demon's Crest or or what's
Gargoyle's
that?
Quest?
What's the other grapple game that I always
Bionic Commando.
Bionic Commando, you know?
No.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about, like, I'm not a big... I mean, obviously, the chain is really cool, but it's just the game feels really kind of stilty for me, and really punishing. And so it's just when you get that, it's like, I feel like I can't really master the controls as much. It just doesn't gel with me. But I have such high respect for everything in it, and like the idea. I do like the action platformer a lot, and getting through and knowing what you're coming up with. But it's like when it feels kind of like cheap deaths type stuff, and I don't want to be what'd you call it? Toe technique in it. I don't know. It didn't. I kind of feel exactly the same way that Alex did.
Like growing up, I don't know if this was intentional, but I wonder if it was like you either played Mega Man games or you played Castlevania games, and made by the two different companies, very different. They play very different, even though you might put them in the same genre, not the Nintendo Power genre, but the actual genres that exist. Like
the
Mega
robot
Man
shooter genre,
Exactly.
blue robot shooter,
Robot Master Turtle,
Robot Castle Quest.
Not a Castle Quest until you get to the Wily stages or something. I don't know, but Mega Man was just so much more fast paced. I don't know that I gravitated towards too many games that had a horror theme. And Castlevania has always struck me as being like a horror themed game. I might want to play that during October, but when it's sunny outside in the summer, I don't know that I'm really going towards playing a Castlevania game where I could play like a brighter, more upbeat, like kind
play
of
Mario Sunshine, baby.
Sure, but a game that, like I said, the Mega Man games seem to fit that. Maybe that all season theme a little bit better because you get a little bit of everything. It's not all centered around a horror theme, right? Like Mega Man,
the stages, can
all
be
the stages
real diverse.
Can be different. Different. They're usually like different environments. Whether that's forest or desert or winter or whatever.
Or in a
factory.
factory.
And the music was just more upbeat, like you kind of bopping along to that. You're not really bopping along to Castlevania as much, even though I really like the music and I appreciate it more now. I think I just was more of a Mega Man fan growing up, and so I didn't gravitate towards these games as much.
Yeah, for me, it's the stiff controls that are the barrier to entry. Like it's kind of the slow movement and the stiff controls. Like it's a good platformer and stuff, and it's I feel like they had good enemy placement, so it was always fun to try to attack stuff. But yeah, it's always been that really slow methodical walking. And in the going up the like the stairs and being stuck in the middle of the stairs, and you can't do anything if the enemy happens to get you, or if you happen to yes, right, run. But I died a whole bunch of
walk.
Yeah, I had to use the toe technique many a times when I would jump towards stairs, thinking I would land on the stairs, but you just go straight through the stairs, right to your death. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like stuff like that. So, Castlevania has always kind of been. I've always kept it at arm's length for that reason. And I think Mega Man. I played a lot more Mega Man as a kid just because it's responsive controls. Like he moved fast, he went where I told him to go. So there was that link there, but I definitely like when the move to Symphony of the Night. Like Symphony of the Night is such a huge change from this type of game. Like it's it's its own genre. I guess it needs its own Castle Adventure, not Castle Quest. I guess I don't know. Maybe because it had those things that like it wasn't super fast, but it was still more responsive. There was more attacks that you could do, and the exploration was a neat add, though. Like I can see like Casey's kind of outlook on that, where it's like there's a lot of times you are backtracking even in Symphony of the Night. I could see how that could kind of grate on some people's nerves, but I still feel like Symphony of the Night is the most accessible Castlevania.
Agreed. I will agree. And I grew up on Symphony of the Night, playing it on my PlayStation without a memory card, the first section over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good section, though. You fight Dracula and stuff, and you have that whip, and then
you didn't leave your PlayStation permanently on?
Nope. I probably did, but I don't know why. It's just a stupid kid.
Barry just wanted that satisfaction that came from Richter beating Dracula over and over again.
It was a great opening moment.
It is a great opening,
and that when you walk through it and you see all the people impaled in the back, it's so awesome.
This is the easiest game I've ever played. I just beat Dracula in the first 10 minutes.
That's how I felt. I was like, I beat the game. Like, what are you guys talking about? I can beat that game in like 2 minutes.
Why can't Super Castlevania 4 start
I play it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My full review of Super Castlevania 4 is go play Demon's Crest. I'm just kidding.
Demon's Crest is a good game.
Fantastic.
Yeah, can't say I played that one.
My full review of this game is I'm looking at more genres in Nintendo Power. Hey, dude, you're playing Super Mario World? Yeah. Oh, what kind of game is it? Oh, it's a comic adventure.
Ah.
That is so good.
I love it.
Super Ghouls and Ghost fighting action. Sid Meier's Pirates on the NES, role-playing adventure. Oh yeah, it's an RPA.
Yep.
Okay.
Wonder why that
Sorry.
That's what this podcast is.
That's a JRPA, bro.
This is an RPA podcast.
It's a WRPA because it's Sid Meier's Pirates.
RPA works. It sounds like IPA. It would be a good mix for the mage here.
I think the Nintendo Power editors probably had a few too many IPAs when they came up with those categories.
Maybe they're throwing darts, right? Like whatever.
Exactly. Oh, it's literally just like flipping cards over, like you're playing a memory game, and you get one word here and one word on the other card. And you put them together, and that's the genre, right? Yeah, it's funny. Like I think it's funny about Castlevania 4, Super Castlevania 4. Like I imagine, like if you had a Super Nintendo, this is the first game you got, being blown away by this game. Like this really feels like we've entered the 16-bit era. When you compare this to the 3 Castlevania games on the NES, like this is just a massive upgrade in a lot of ways. It's funny that 2 and 3 do things that are a little more advanced than this game, right? Like the second one has like the more open world feel to it with the kind of storyline. It's got a little bit more, Zelda 2 to it as well. And even the day-night cycle. And then the third game has the different playable characters and different routes you can take through the game. Whereas this game, yeah, I mean, it's in some ways it's a remake of the first game, but in other ways it's an expansion of the first game as well, because you're fighting different bosses, you're going to different areas. Like it's so much more than just a remake of the original game.
It's a super Castlevania.
And that's why you get the Super and you get the 4, right? It's not just a bringing
very
the game
bizarre
to,
name.
to Super Nintendo. But I mean, how many games on the Super Nintendo had Super as part of the title, right? Like, it was huge.
Weren't you contractually obligated to have Super in the title at that point?
Maybe in the first year or so, but then they started to drop it. But
now the thing that really bugs me the most about this game is that the Wolfman got screwed. Where was the Wolfman? Everyone else got into this game except the Wolfman.
I guess you get the giant bat made out of riches or treasure, which is kind of a cool fight, right? But
yeah, that was pretty neat.
You don't get the giant bat from like the first stage of Castlevania, the original one.
Yeah. Another note from Paige was do not go behind the Medusa, because that is a bad idea.
Did she back up? Is that why? I don't remember what happened in that fight, but I think I always stayed in front of her. But
yeah, and I think that was in that though. There's like the first few bosses where I basically just tossed a bunch of crosses and then head went for the hills while the crosses just finished off the boss. I didn't even need toe technique for those ones. It was just throw out a bunch of crosses.
Really
and
Bivens to that one.
Yeah, I think the hardest one was the boss kind of gauntlet there, starting with, I guess it's like a gargoyle lizardy thing, where he like had the spear and he would go up into the ceiling, he'd come down and he'd like try to spear you, but then even if he dodged the spear, a fireball came out.
Yeah, that's a
and then that ended up going like, so I used up all my crosses thinking like, oh well, I'll get, look at me more, it's fine, like it's just the boss. And then it's like, oh, here's 2 hearts, oh yeah, here's 2 more bosses by the way. And I'm like, you buggers. And then
son of a gun.
Yeah, and then they're like, here's 2 more hearts, oh by the way, Dracula's next, good luck.
Okay, so did anyone else before they fought Dracula? Did you go to that secret area, with the steps leading up to Dracula's tower? You go down, you jump into like midair, and there's a platform there. You get all your health refilled. You get like 99 hearts. You get a cross, and you get the
Clearly,
third,
I did not see that.
the triple sub weapon power up. Yeah, it's hilarious. Like literally, like an avalanche of power ups falls on you. It's so funny, and it looks like you're standing in midair. Yeah, I don't know if anyone's playing that game. It's a fun little trick that you do before Dracula that really makes that boss fight easier than the ones that came before it when you're not super powered up like that. So
cool. Does anybody have anything left to say about Castlevania? Did this get the Castle Quest juices flowing? Does anybody else want to play another Castlevania, or has this been enough for everyone?
Probably good for me.
I'll say,
like I said,
I'm good.
a good. Like I said, I like these games, but like you said, they're definitely, you got to be in I feel like a certain mindset to really want to, sort of go through the grind, and sort of setting those parameters. I mean, because like you said, you can really brush through it relatively quick, and not without complete, without a few headaches along the way, even with the save states, but. I feel like if you're in the right state of mind, you want a real challenging game. I think this has a lot to offer. But yeah, it definitely is something I don't think everyone's going to just jump into it and be like, oh man, this game is awesome. You got to be in the right state of mind, I think.
It really reminds me of the Battletoads experience, where it's like you could get to certain spots and then there'd just be like a bunch of cheap deaths. And then if you do manage to get past the cheap death spot, then there's like just another cheap deaths waiting for you a little bit further in, to the point where it's like you just kind of give up. And I'm actually glad for the save state generation now, because there's so many games from my childhood that I just like, screw this, I'm going on to the next game, that I can just go back and be like, you know what? Screw you, Battletoads. You're getting the toe.
Battletoads.
Yeah, that's it.
Is that the next game deck?
Yes.
Battletoads.
Battletoads.
You have to play with your toes. You have to flip the cards and move the pieces with your toes. Yeah,
that's just.
And on the backside is just a picture of the SNES Classic.
And it comes with a bar of soap to clean your feet.
From the amphibian combat genre.
Yeah, exactly.
Sandcastle Quest. Okay.
I actually do
Nice.
want to go back and
Thanks.
replay some of the NES games after playing this one, just because one thing I like the 8-bit sound better. And believe me, there are a lot of Super Nintendo games where I love their soundtracks, but I think when it comes to Castlevania themes, I prefer the 8-bit versions. Like I really like the first games, the beginning, and what is it? Vampire, no, something. Bloody Tears, yeah, Bloody Tears. Like I love those 8-bit renditions of those songs. Like I still listen to those just on my own regularly without playing the games. But yeah, I'd love to go back and just beat the first game and kind of just have the two side by side in my mind and think about what I like about the first game over the fourth game that we've just played here. But yeah, I certainly have my fill of this game for the year, but I'd love to go back to it. There's something about when you're about to die and you whip a wall and you find there's meat in the wall, like that feeling is pretty. It's just kind of uncanny, like it's just such a funny thing. And just to relate it to a game I played and reviewed recently, Infernax actually makes a joke about the wall meat. Like there's a wall you hit in Infernax, which plays very similar to a Castlevania or a Zelda 2 type game. There's a joke made when you find wall meat, and then a cutscene plays where the main character Alcidor, he's like violently ill and just starts puking everywhere from the wall meat, right? And like he's like cursing, "Why would you eat like meat that's been in a wall for centuries or something like that?" Right? And it's just funny that the trope of the wall meat being like something that's carried through to other games. I'm sure Shovel Knight made a joke about it and stuff too, but yeah. It was fun to return to this one. I'm glad we got a chance to. I probably don't love it as much as some people do, but I think it's a really fine game and a really cool entry on the Super Nintendo to show off what that console could do.
Well, it's an experience, if nothing else. I miss because being a child of the '80s, Konami was really like huge when I was a kid, like between like 8 and 12, I guess, like. Having the silver cartridge, the silver art box art or whatever that I had so many Konami games on NES and like Contra and Blades of Steel, and I just kind of miss them being, because I mean Konami's a pretty terrible company when you actually look up the stuff that they do, like how they abuse their employees, and that they were so quick to jump on to to go into mobile games. They're like, screw the console games, mobile's where the money is.
Train too,
they're like first they're looking around everyone else talking about NFTs, and they're like got their hands out already, and they're like, I think the NFTs are like pictures that are available in the collection or something, and it's like, here, give us money and you can save these to your desktop or something. Like it's insane. And then even the stories about like employees that leave aren't allowed to put what they've done with Konami on their resumes and stuff, like hearing some of those horror stories. So I mean, they don't deserve my praise, I guess, for some of the stuff they did. But I still, it's so tough when it's like that's where your childhood comes from, and it's just like, this is the stuff I used to play. I wouldn't mind seeing some more glory days of this. But
I mean, they released like 50 games on the NES. Like not all of them came here, but they were probably one of the most prolific developers, right?
Yeah, really early on. So. And then, now they're just kind of holding on to the few things they do. I don't even know if they have an internal development team anymore. I think, I know in 2006, they switched over to a holding company, but still had, they bought out Hudson Soft, and still, I think they had like a couple teams working, but I think in 2013, they more or less shut down most of their development. Now either just farm it out or whatever, so it's too bad, but,
They just published that Getsufumaden game on Switch. Did anyone here play that game? I didn't get a chance to.
Yeah, Alex actually did.
Yeah, I got a code from Konami. It's what's it called? It's Dead Cells. They made their own Dead Cells. That wasn't as good.
Right. Because I didn't realize this, but it's like a sequel or a remake of an NES game. Like they had, there was a Getsufumaden on NES that never came here, I don't think. And now this is a reimagined version or a sequel to it or something like that. But
yeah,
cool. Well, think that'll probably wrap it up for the Castlevania talk. I don't know if we want to have a quick last call on what RPG should be the next crossover. I don't know if you guys. I don't think we put too much thought into it, but
come up with something.
I
feel like we came up with something.
I
like
thought
a
we had an
few
idea
weeks ago.
too. Yeah.
I had an idea for Earthbound. I thought would be a good one.
Oh yeah. Well, we knew
That's what it was.
we were mentioning that, and I know Jordan. He loves him some Earthbound.
Oh,
So do
you
I.
don't, you don't have to do anything to get me to play that game again. I'd be thrilled to do it. I've been thinking about playing.
Have
Earthbound
you not done
Beginnings.
that on Thirsty Mage?
we've had
They
an
have.
Earthbound episode, yeah.
But not a crossover. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. We could think it out. I know Perry's sort of pressed for time. But I think we should think on it, and we should definitely do it sooner than another 40 episodes, wherever the heck it was in between
Yeah,
these last
exactly.
two. So
We could do a Mother
Absolutely.
Series episode or something like that, and we could each play a different game, or just play whatever one you feel like, or something.
I've never played
Yeah,
the
the
third
first
one,
one.
and I mean, we'd have to do some PC play kind of thing on there. But
Well,
I hear it's awesome.
I was gonna ship you a Japanese to English dictionary, Casey, and you can just translate on the go.
I'll do
Perfect.
it like a real gamer and go to gamefaq.com. Thank you, sir.
Axie art up at the top of the 500 kilobytes.
Casey,
I
you
did
can-
that. I did that for Fire Emblem.
I was just going to say that.
6.
Yep.
The last Fire Emblem to not be released here, and man, that game was so brutally hard. Aside from trying to navigate Japanese as a guy who knows no Japanese, but man, they tuned that game way more difficult, man. That woo wee. But yes,
but
Let's
yeah,
do Fire Emblem 6.
yeah,
we'll do
All right.
Fire Emblem 6.
Game
No,
FAQ translations only.
Any of the Mother games, even 3. I have a Ambernick Retro handheld. I'll play whatever you want.
All right,
I bought
Sounds good.
I bought an EverDrive
Battle in Wonderworld it is.
for my Analog Pocket. I still haven't opened my Analog Pocket, but I've got an EverDrive for it, so I could easily put Mother.
Wait,
You haven't
got
played your
that
pocket?
sucker,
I
and
have
you
not played my
haven't
pocket. I
opened
haven't played
it?
my pocket. No, I
I know why.
I-
He scalped it.
You
No.
scalper!
I could have paid for it 2 times. I think if I had, but no. The reason I haven't opened it is I don't want. I feel
He's
like
waiting for it to be worth triple, baby. Woo!
I'm gonna feel like I'm gonna tarnish it. I feel like I'm gonna. As soon as I take it out of the box, that's it. They can't put it back in the box. I have that feeling, and I know
Hey,
Carrie
Jordan,
has that sometimes
Don't
too, right?
be a big old Jimmy.
I know.
Open that sucker up. It was made to be played for.
I
my
get it.
friend.
I get it. I will open it at some point, but it's gonna be like the special moment, and I got to light some candles or something, turn the music on really
But-
low, and
By the time you turn that thing on, it'll have rusted inside and won't even.
please
it
don't,
won't
please
even.
don't even joke about that. Like that is that's my new fear. Is that
The
I open
battery,
it,
the battery will leaked everywhere.
If that has happened, then what a piece of crap.
I'll be like, well, I'll sell it on eBay at that point.
Oh,
Then I would-
man,
then I would
then
scalp
you'd
it.
be
True
a
scalper.
truly dirty
Yeah.
scalper selling a
Yeah.
broken item for worth 3 times the price.
That's it. Yeah.
As is, haven't opened it. I don't know what
Now
what
let me
conditions
ask you,
it in.
and before, how long? When did you get your pocket? When did that came in months ago?
Yeah, a few months ago. So I guess it was the end of last year, right? And then I was waiting forever to get a screen protector. I guess because I ordered one of those on eBay or something. Because it's not like there's like just some individuals selling them. They're not like I don't know if you can buy them.
can't trust.
I might
those.
have even
They
bought it
might
on
put
Amazon.
acid
You
on
scalped
there.
it.
I might have bought it on Amazon, but it was shipped. Shipping to Canada took a few weeks. So I finally got that, and I've got the hard case. Like I'm ready to
And
go.
I was afraid to open that box because
I'm afraid to open anything. I want to keep all of this in pristine, perfect condition. It's also the white model too, so I'm like, oh, as soon as I touch it, I know I'm going to leave like a stain or a mark on it. I don't know why I'm being so
just keep
paranoid
David's
about it.
toes away from it.
I'm looking forward to the Twitter mob that comes after Jordan 10 minutes after this episode airs.
Yeah.
When
No,
you bought that, you won't play it.
Yeah.
I'm
Just
sitting
send
here
it to
waiting.
me. I will make sure it stays in pristine
Condition.
condition. That's what
it's the ultimate tease. Is that I was one of the few people to get an analog pocket and haven't played it yet. It's still just sitting in a shelf.
You might be the only one because I
might
feel like
be.
the crazy people who are like that would buy 2.
Yes, exactly. That's
Yeah.
right.
Oh,
He
man.
scalped
Yeah, I don't know who was able to get 2 though. Like those pre-orders sold out so fast. It was crazy.
The professional scalpers.
That's it. Yeah.
I know who got them. David Lloyd and Lloyd David.
Nailed it. Yep.
I already had to do that with my Steam Deck because I locked my account out in the Secret Santa, so I had to start a brand new account to order a Steam Deck.
Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll wait to open my Pocket when you finally get your Steam Deck, because then we can enjoy the new consoles together, something like that.
I'm waiting to listen. I'm just going to listen to every podcast I can until someone comes on and says they bought a Steam Deck but they haven't opened it yet, and I'm just going to drive to the house and take it.
Leave it on the shelf. Yeah. Well, they were waiting for a screen protector from Amazon, and
And then some Canadian came in and kicked him in the face with his toe and took a Steam Deck.
That's it. Yeah. He had it coming.
Yeah. Well, I guess this is probably a good spot to sign off, but I want to thank you guys for coming on for our 150th episode. It's I guess we're a year away from the big 200, so
you should do Pokemon for the next episode.
151.
Mm-hmm.
A biopic on Mew.
We only talk about Mew for an hour and a half. Yeah. I think Paige would actually like that.
She would be, yeah.
She'd be all over
we
that.
We wouldn't have to say a word. I feel like she'd just be good to go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
We could just let Paige go through the entire list of all 151 Pokemon and tell us who they are. And
I actually I would want to do that. So I'll do that with her. The funny thing, the great thing would be if we open up Slack right now and we see that she's pitching that for the next episode without us even hearing whatever we're talking about right now. It's like, she read our minds.
Alphabetical
Jordan,
order.
did you play Arceus?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Yeah.
David, did you play it?
I did
He's
not.
holding out.
Okay.
Holding out. I've been busy.
Dude. It's good stuff.
That's worse than not opening your analog pocket, frankly.
No, it's not.
No.
We're not letting that one slide, Jordan.
No.
I'm trying to deflect here.
Look at this guy, Casey.
It would only be if I bought Arceus and left it up on my shelf.
Yes.
No, that still wouldn't even compute. No.
Why are you so obsessed with it? Isn't it just a Game Boy?
Yeah, it's just a really nice Game Boy, but it's just like what a crazy man to.
It's also hard to like. It's so
yeah,
hard
it's very
to
hard
get.
to get. It's very hard.
It's hard to get.
If it broke or something didn't work or I made a big mess of it, and I wanted to get another one. I can't get another one. Like I can't just go to the store and buy another one.
And on top of all that, Analog has had your $300 or whatever it is for the past 3 years.
Yeah, they've invested that. They've made a killing off my invest. The money.
But
I'm sure.
I think the biggest shock for me is Jordan was so excited. I feel like you were so excited.
I was
to get
so
this.
excited.
And you're like, I can't wait to play these games on this sucker.
It's the anticipation,
Exactly. Like
it all
I'm still
doubles back to
anticipating
like that
opening
$100 bet, Perry. Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know when I could open it when we say, hey, we're gonna do an episode on Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced. That's when I'm gonna open it because I have that cart ready to go, ready to play.
All right.
Or you do Pokemon Yellow next week.
Next week.
Boom.
Okay. Next week. The next Dirty Mage, Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced.
We're all started when you send us a picture of your analog.
What'll
pocket.
happen is as soon as I open it, you'll cancel that episode and be like, oh, we're not gonna do that anymore.
We're gonna play Octopath Traveler instead.
I love how you guys.
We'll each take one path.
Real talk here. I love how you guys scoffed at my idea of Four Swords Adventures, and here we are doing Castlevania 4.
Well,
you're like Four Swords isn't RPG enough, is what you guys said. And look at where we're at now.
I think we didn't have the wherewithal to play Four Swords together. Like, how are we gonna get that set up? Like, I would love to try Four Swords online.
Use your budget. Duh. We'll fly.
Well, Jordan, if you had bought us all an Analog Pocket, we could have played Four Swords together.
Well, if I had gotten a second mortgage on my house, I might have been able to afford that. But...
yeah.
Well,
yeah. Hello,
Perry. I'm actually gonna.
Bank.
I got to humor Perry here. Do we all have the DSi version of Four Swords? Can you not play that online?
Four Swords Adventures, but I do Four Swords. No, you can't play that online.
You can't play that on only Wi-Fi.
I bet you could find a way through emulation to play online.
Probably. I'm sure people do.
Yeah. You know what we should do? Seriously, we should do this because in honor of the 3DS closing down, and I'll say this in the next one, but we should do Triforce Heroes for one last while we can play that online.
One last
seriously, that would be awesome.
Although I think you'll still be able to play that game online, right? They're just closing down the.
I wouldn't count on that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
hope
wouldn't.
So.
I wouldn't put it past Nintendo to shut it all down.
Perry,
We'll
can you
think
suggest
about it.
something that isn't a Zelda multiplayer game? Is that possible?
Well, that's what got me into thinking it. Yeah, I can
know.
suggest something.
Hey, the man likes what he likes.
It's fair. It's fair.
He said, "How about Pictooey?"
Yeah, duh. That's a. There's RP. You level up in that game. There's RPG elements.
RPG elements. There we go. That's all we need. Yeah.
There's a brain level. All right, but I got to get going, guys.
All right, take us out, Jordan. Finish it off.
Yeah, sure. Always really fun to have our friends from the Talking Nintendo podcast on. Perry, Alex, and whoever that third fellow. I don't know.
Casey.
Guy still
That
looking,
third turd.
still looking for an analog pocket of his own. That's why he's so bitter about me not opening mine. But yeah, always great to have friends on from another podcast. Join us, talk about, not always an RPG, but Super Castlevania IV this time. Fun game, lots of different ways to play it. I think I would recommend it to people that have, been a fan of action platformers or God knows whatever that genre is that Alex found for us, Castle Quest or whatever.
Castle Quest.
So good. I think we're gonna definitely have an episode looking at old Nintendo Power genres, and then maybe it'd be funny if we played like a guessing game where we came up with a genre and then you had to guess what the game was. I think we should do something like that. That'd be fun. But yeah, save that for another time. Thanks everybody for listening. You can find us at The Thirsty Mage on Twitter. If whatever your podcast catcher you're listening to, you leave us a review, leave us some comments. We'd love to see those. That'd be fantastic. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/The Thirsty Mage. Any support would be fully and well appreciated. Love to have
Leave him a review.
Join the Discord. The Discord. I don't know what Perry said, but
If we get $100 new dollars on the Patreon, Jordan will do a live unboxing of the Analog Pocket.
we do need to add another Patreon tier for something related to the Pocket for sure.
Release the Pocket.
Yeah. That's, get it trending on Twitter and I'll do it. 50,000 likes or 5,000 retweets or whatever, I'll do it. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. Hope you have a good night, good week, and we'll talk to you again next week. Bye.
Adios.
Bye.
Bye.